only one more thing I really want to mention from Raw, because this was a big thing. And this is going to spark a bit of debate now with you guys, and I want to know what you think. Nia Jax.
Oh, God.
So, a move to Dana Brooke on Raw has sparked, yet again, more controversy. After it's been called out that it looked very unsafe. It was essentially kind of like she had Dana Brooke in like a powerbomb position, and then had sort of manoeuvred her arm in between, and it turned into a chokeslam. But the move looked as though Dana was sent down with enough force that she landed on the back of her neck or on the back of her head. And it looked like potentially she hit quite hard. So, there's been a lot of speculation online, you know, was she injured? Even if she wasn't, this was still a botched move. There's a lot of different takes on it, because there's people siding with Nia saying, look, if this was the men, you wouldn't moan about it, you'd be saying how great it was. So I don't know. There's two sides of the story. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I haven't. This is the first time I'm hearing of it, but before Ash gets into it, I just want to go into it because, like, this could be a long one. Let's just put it that way.
No, by all means, let's talk about it, because I think, you know, there's a lot to talk about with this.
The only thing I want to say is, look, I've never liked her. I think her ability has always been in question. And obviously you make a point about people that have been saying, oh, if it was a man, blah. No, it's not. It's got, male or female, it's got absolutely nothing to do with it. If you're putting someone in danger, or, you know, in a position where they're going to get hurt, then male or female, it makes no difference. It's the fact that, and it's not even the first time either. I mean,
no.
How many times has she done this now? At least 3 or 4?
It's a lot. I mean, some of the biggest standouts. I mean, the Kairi Sane one when she threw her head into the steps was, you know, that was bad. That was dangerous.
And then it was then punching Becky Lynch in the face, and now this one as well. And I'm sorry, but I've just got to get it out there now. And a lot of people might not agree with me, and that's fine. Like, you're entitled to your own opinion, whatever, you know. Absolutely. But I don't think she should be wrestling. And I know the only reason I'm saying that is because look at the track record. Obviously, from the first time, you know, if anything, as a boss, okay, and you have to think of your employees' well-being. As a boss, you'd think, okay, this has happened. What do I do moving forward then?
That's a good point.
You know, do I put it back into developmental? Do I get her more training? Do I see what went wrong, how it can improve, etc., etc.? Then it happens again. Then it happens again. Then it happens again. You know, at what point are they going to see that this is a problem?
Well,
I mean, is it going to be when she, you know, completely takes someone out and ends a career? I mean, where is the line?
It's a debate. And Jay, there's 2 points to touch on that you said there. I think first one, because this is the trouble when people get lumped into the same category. So there are no doubt about it, because I've seen it. There's no doubt about it. There are people that jump and rave when big moves like that happen with the men, and it's like the best thing they've ever seen. Yet it happens with the women, and all of a sudden, these women are too fragile to take a big bump, so they jump on it. Right, so there is that. But I know that from your point of view, because for example, you know, you were really pissed off when Rollins was, you know, in that kind of firing line, because he did it with Finn and with Sting.
Yeah.
And, you know, that buckle bomb male
or female, you know, like I said, it makes no difference. If you're putting someone at risk, you're putting someone at risk, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing. So that's the trouble sometimes when you lump people in categories, because actually, you know, that's a very broad subject that people have different opinions on that branch out from that. So they can't all just sit in the same bucket. But to touch on one of the other things you said there, you were saying about, look, so as a boss, you see that happening. At what point do you send them to get more training? Now, what I do find kind of odd and confusing, and again, look, you know, we're fans and we watch what we see, we read what we read and stuff like that. Like, that's how we're getting our info. So, and the rest of it is just for our interpretation. Doesn't mean we're right or wrong, you know, but we can own up to that. We can fess up to that. There's no point. We don't work in the industry. We can't pretend that we know everything and we know everything that's going on. This is just our thoughts and opinions, right?
Absolutely. But we know nothing really. We just literally speak in our mind.
Exactly that. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But here's the thing. Not too long ago, Vince had sent down the likes of Keith Lee, Omos, Keith Lee being like a big stand-up name for that, Otis. He wasn't impressed with their in-ring work, so he sent them down to get more, to have more training in the Performance Centre. So how does that kind of stack up with this situation then? Because if that's not happened with Nia, we don't know, maybe it has, and it wasn't reported, but that would be quite weird. But if we go under the assumption that it didn't happen with Nia, but it happened with the likes of Keith Lee and Otis, what kind of message is that sending?
Exactly.
Not a good one.
And I think the only reason it hasn't happened is because she's part of the quote-unquote Samoan dynasty.
Right, and that's
where they can do
debate.
no wrong. Exactly. This is the thing. It's double standards, I think.
Ash, because you're a big advocate for Samoa. I mean, we all are.
You need to get out your opinions on this.
The thing is, like I was about to say that about how comes Otis and Keith Lee that had to go back to Performance Center, and she's done this before. She dropped Charlotte on her head like a few years ago, I believe. And the thing is,
yeah,
the only thing about Nia Jax is she's unique in the women's division. There's no one else like her.
No, but
she has to either, I don't know. Something's got to be done. I don't think firing her is the right call.
No, I wouldn't say that, but something definitely needs to be done.
But there has been moments where there was a moment with Mandy Rose where she threw her out, but it wasn't Nia Jax's fault. I don't think it was the way that Mandy went out the ring. But people were blaming Nia for that. But injuries do happen. It doesn't matter who you're or where you're from.
It ain't ballet.
No. Undertaker will have a go, yeah.
There you go. I'm going to throw this out to you now as well, because I'm going to just keep adding on to this. So, another piece to add. One of the big things where people are like, I hope she hasn't got a concussion, or yeah, she's definitely got a concussion, this, that, and the other. Dana tweeted afterwards anyway, just with a video clip of it, just saying, ouch. But WWE themselves posted the video on Twitter, just basically saying, damn, at the move. Now, if this was a really big deal and a really big dangerous botch, would WWE have put a post out like that showing the video, not just keeping the video in, but showing it and sharing it on social media with a caption, damn? Like, what do you guys make of that? Because that looks like, not necessarily making light of it, but actually, look, this is how good Nia is, not how bad she is.
Well, to me, I mean, that's just like, oh, man, where do I even begin with this?
Well, can I just say this? Can you imagine
you go for it, mate.
Can you imagine if Siz's leg break happened nowadays? Would they have shown that on Twitter?
Well, no, yeah, probably not. I mean,
because
supposedly set on fire, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, could you imagine if this happened during Droz and D'Lo Brown?
Well, look, this is the thing.
No, that's not a good example, but it's...
No, well, yeah, but what I think that's the concern is if it ever came to, like, what Jay's saying, at what point is, like, where is the line? If the line is where, if something like that happens...
What's it going to take for them to address it? That's exactly it, isn't it?
Right.
Well, back in 95, when Mabel kept injuring people, eventually they got fed up of it and they got rid of him. Only for a couple of years, but they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even when he came back as Viscera, he didn't really, he had the odd match here and there and that, but he didn't really do an awful lot.
He never got pushed as much. I know he was in Ministry of Darkness and that kind of stuff, but...
He was hardcore champion about 50 times, but other than that...
The push was nowhere near to the level it was when he was King of the Ring.
No. Yeah, because he won the King of the Ring in 95, didn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's obviously around about the time he was injuring people, so,
And when you injured Undertaker, you injured Diesel, who was the world champion.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Because, Nia Jax, like I said, unique, and there's moments where she does look good, but it's... You gotta either slow down or just, like...
Well, the reports are that WWE don't have any heat with her, or at least that was the case when she injured Kairi on that second one with the steps.
Yeah, and we
got there were some part of the Samoan dynasty. Is that what it is, or?
And again, it's another part of that debate, and it's what people are throwing.
Yeah, and look at Kairi saying now she's in Japan, so she can't get touched by Nia.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, to add more to this, Nia Jax had a series of tweets in response to some of the reactions that people were having on Twitter to it. And of course, they were the negative ones and calling her out for being an unsafe worker, X, Y, Z. Some of the tweets were along the lines of, I'm glad that I'm living in the heads rent-free of you weak-ass losers. That is paraphrasing. But again, she's going for that heel heat.
Yeah, but we're not the weak-ass losers. We're not the ones that are fucking damaging people's bodies, though.
So this is there's so many different debates to have off the back of it because a heel should make heelish comments like that. But
yeah, like I agree, but like just going back to it, like you remember, I'll just say Simon Gotch. He got the sack, yeah, because he was an unsafe worker, quote unquote unsafe worker. Obviously, he concussed Enzo and that, right? They got rid of him. So, like I said, if they're quick enough to jump on something like that, and at this point, like Enzo was a big star, like he was drawing people in and that. So, like, at what point do you say, okay? So, how is it okay for them to go? All right, you're an unsafe worker, you're injuring people, you got to go. Again. Yeah. Is it two sets of rules? Where's the line? At what point do you say, okay, this is a problem?
It's difficult to try and work out at what point politicking becomes a part of this as well. Because if you go back to Mr. Kennedy dropping Orton on his head all those years ago, which unquestionably, well, I mean, at least if you listen to Kennedy, or obviously now Mr. Anderson, would say that was what led to his release from WWE because Orton had gone backstage and said he's unsafe. And, this was around about the time as well. Kennedy was being pushed and he was going to be the big reveal to be McMahon's son. And, of course, we know that all got changed and it became Hornswoggle because Kennedy was out the door. But it all got downhill after that. It wasn't. No, I know he made the steroid comments as well.
Well, he was found in that list.
And he was on that list, but apparently that was a big thing that contributed to his release.
Yeah, and the weird thing about that list of people that were on that steroid list were like Batista and Edge, that people that were still on TV. So what was the difference?
Exactly.
And again, but that's why I'm saying at what point does the politicking come in? And that wrestling hierarchy. And if the Samoan dynasty, if that does have a part to play...
Well, it must do.
What about, in a weird, different way, what about Velveteen Dream?
Yeah, exactly. Again, I know it's a very different scenario, but yeah.
You never know. I don't know.
I know. It's difficult to really be able to call it because where people lose this completely and where I can understand Nia would want to defend herself and be aggressive in her response is that every other comment, instead of people maybe being critical, and we mentioned this when we did our cyberbullying episode for World Mental Health Day, and we mentioned how Nia Jax is often at the forefront of online bullying because people fat shame her.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
No, I don't.
That's
You lose all grounds for your argument the moment you let anger take over.
Yeah.
And instead of then pointing out that, well, look, this wasn't safe and that wasn't safe, and I don't, asking maybe questions instead of pointing what you believe to be the facts. Instead, you're just saying, well, you're fat and, you got to, it's just, you've lost straight away.
Yeah.
But understandably, if every other comment's like that and you've got hundreds and if not thousands across, spread over all different social medias and all different posts, and if you're Nia and you have to read that, I mean, look, you got to have thick skin, haven't you? So I understand that to a degree, but it depends how much of this really is a case that she's an unsafe worker, she's deemed to be an unsafe worker. But then if that's the case, look, if you're working in your job and you're doing a bad job, everyone thinks you're doing a bad job. If your boss never comes to tell you, I know it's touching on really what Jay said as well, but if your boss never comes up to you and says, look, you're not doing a good job, we need to do some sort of plan, some sort of coaching program around, to get you better, to work on your skills, you're just going to keep doing the same job, whether it's good or bad, because you're never having that feedback, you're never getting the opportunity to improve.
I honestly, I can't see anything being done until, like I said, somebody gets seriously injured. At that point, it's too late then, isn't it? Exactly that. I mean...
Yeah. You are right. And if that really is, if it is that she's an unsafe worker and that was a big botch, at what point does it? I agree. The only thing, one more thing to put into it, it'd be interesting to know what your thoughts are. The reaction in general plays part and plays host to a whole bigger picture online, and it's cancel culture. You know, when you see something you don't like, people get into the cancel culture. Hashtag fire Nia Jax. Hashtag fire so-and-so. You know, you remember it when all the reports were coming out with JBL and Mauro. Hashtag fire JBL. Hashtag, you know, it's not just wrestling either. Like that, this happens, you know, through politics, through religion, especially though within the entertainment industry. So cancel culture, that, I mean, we're talking about where's the line? Where's the line with that? Because if everyone's calling for the firing of Nia Jax, you know, is that the answer? Or is it really a case sometimes that this cancel culture has just become too big? That it's almost like you've got that other problem again where someone says to you, I'm offended. Okay. You have the right to be offended, but I have the right to say what I want to say. You know, where are the lines with things? You have the right to feel, you know, passionate enough that you want to cancel somebody, but is that always the right thing to do? And should that always be what happens on social media? Because that's I say trending, but that's the hashtag that's being used right now. Hashtag fire Nia Jax. I don't know what your thoughts might be on cancel culture, because it is a big thing. Like, it's grown exponentially over the past 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a tough one really, because again, it all depends on the situation and how it's been received and what's been done about it, or in this case, what hasn't been done about it. And, you know, so it all depends. But yeah, that's a tough one, really. Because it can be a good thing in a way, like, but in other ways, it's like, it could make things worse. It's just like social media in general, really, isn't it?
They always say there's no such thing as bad media.
Well,
no, yeah, and you've got a point. The thing is, I've always taken this stance that look, here's the thing, right? If you think Nia's, because it's hard to sometimes differentiate, like I said, when some people just go in with the hate and they just want to fat shame, yeah, you've lost your argument. You're not arguing that she's unsafe anymore. You're just making jabs because of her weight. That's not, you know, that's got nothing to do with it. It doesn't. Like, I know if you're a bigger person, potentially you might be a bit more heavy-handed, but realistically, that means nothing. Wrestling is filled with big people, both men and women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, if, for example, you saw, you know, it wasn't that long ago, we were saying about when Marco was getting absolutely mullered by the likes of Lance Archer and Brody and stuff like that. Big guys wailing on a small guy. You know, people weren't turning around then saying, oh my God, no, that was so stiff, you should take it easier on him. You know, but the thing that for me, if you really just dislike her enough, and the same as anybody, or if you dislike something enough, don't make any noise. Like, that's my take on it. Because when you boo somebody, people boo in Nia Jax. If you boo her because you genuinely just dislike her and you think she's unsafe and you don't want to see her, but then you're also going to boo a heel because, you know, you're meant to boo them, that's the same reaction for two different things and for two different reasons. At the end of the day, it's still a reaction.
I think the best thing to do in this situation like this is to just make no noise at all, as you said, because silence in this situation, especially like if you're, I know this obviously it's no crowds at the minute, but just say like silence, like from a crowd, says more than fucking booing. So you know what I mean? Like silence, I think is better in this situation. I mean, yeah, you can boo, you know, a heel because that's what you do and you like him and everything. But as you said, it's the same reaction for two different things. So I think in this situation, silence is probably the best thing. But then again, obviously going back to what you said about this cancel culture and everything, if you do give silence, then obviously if you don't say anything and you don't make your opinion heard, then again, where's the change? You're not going to get a change. You're not going to get a change from silence. If you're not going to get a change if you don't say anything either. So it's a tough one.
Very valid point. Yeah, very valid point. I think for me, I probably meet, and again, as you said, it's very difficult to do in this day and age because, you know, they pipe in the crowd noise now. Can't be helped, obviously, you know, with the current situation. But yeah, as a whole, in general, Ash, I don't know if you agree with that as well, but like, it was like the Roman Reigns thing when people hated Roman being pushed as a face and they kept booing and they really wanted it to stop. Yeah. The more you boo, the more they're going to do it. Like, because you're getting, at least they're getting a reaction. A boo is a reaction. Look at Cena. all those years of boo Cena, we hate Cena, Cena sucks, it added to him being one of the biggest, if not the biggest star in professional wrestling, at least for the 21st century. You know, one of the biggest. His name's up there with Rock and Austin, and I honestly think that is an undisputed claim to be made. The guy would be booed. Boo, yeah, see, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. It was reactions, and you remember it. If you really want that person to be off your TV screen, don't cheer him, don't boo him.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. You know, with
don't be hateful.
With the crowd side of it, obviously, pandemic aside and everything, silence is the best thing to do, because no one wants to hear silence when you've got a big arena full of people. So, you know, that's going to speak volumes. So, yeah, I completely agree with that 100%.
Those actions speak. When people didn't want that main event, I think it was Backlash a few years ago between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. And you had people literally leaving early.
Yeah, and there was a beat a traffic chant or something like that.
Yeah. But that actually reportedly had Vince McMahon concerned. But it's because there was something like, it wasn't just people weren't still staying there booing, adding to the product. It was visible. And I don't know, it's just my take on it. It'll be interesting to hear what you guys listening think on this as well, because, you know, there's a lot of big debates and there's a lot of different areas for discussion there. But the one thing I think all three of us just want to reiterate is just don't go online and be hateful. Yeah. Don't keep poking fun at people's weight. Look, sometimes these comments can be funny. I get it. Like, look, come on. We make fat jokes. Of course we do. Right? Well, it's not to offend anybody, but like we make fat jokes at each other. Like,
well, Ashley makes them, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but it's because he's built like a rake. But like, you know,
sorry, I couldn't hear that. Which chin did that come out of?
Look, it's fine, but it's just know your audience and look, you're always going to offend somebody in this day and age. It can't be helped. But you're going online specifically to spread that kind of hateful shit, and there isn't a place for it. So just keep it. Just don't add to it. Just don't add. Be critical if you feel like you need to. But at the end of the day, the more noise you make, it's a catch-22. Like Jay said, if you stay silent, maybe it gives the wrong message that there isn't anything wrong with it. But at the same time, really, if you think about it, it shouldn't be up to the fans to tell a wrestler that they're unsafe. It should be up to the people training them. It should be up to the promoter, and it should be up to the talent. They actually train to wrestle. Nia Jax is a better wrestler than I am, than all three of us are, and that potentially most of us listening are, because she's a professional wrestler. Is she good at it? Well, that's for the others to tell her. And then that's their call. And if it does end with somebody being injured really badly, then that's the consequence they need to face, and the repercussions thereafter is what the company would need to face. But that's my take on it, really.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.